This is episode 1 of the Fitness Plus Technology podcast with our guest, Bryan O'Rourke.
There's going to be possibilities now that were very hard to execute before. For some business models and professionals, it's going to be disruptive in a painful way. The exciting thing is the greatest products and services in our industry space in the next decade to two haven't even been created yet. Behind it all, obviously, is the incredible impact of chronic disease globally on the world.
Welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast for club owners, operators, and fitness professionals. I am your host, Josh Trent, and this is your number one trusted resource for the accelerating world of fitness technology. Each week, we bring you an expert interview with global influencers at the crossroads of fitness and technology. You'll gain the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to stay connected to the pulse of what matters most for your fitness business in the age of exponential technologies. This podcast is brought to you by the Fitness Industry Technology Council, who is mobilizing resources to drive the fitness industry forward and representing leading companies and organizations to success through collaboration. This show is supported by Videri Ventures, a boutique investment and advisory firm helping early mature and late-stage enterprises succeed in a new era. I'm excited that you're here. This is the first episode of the new podcast series where you're going to learn from some of the most sought-after speakers and thought leaders in the fitness world. In this series, we're diving deep into topics like club systems, online training, gamification, fitness, and wellness technology, club applications, devices, industry trends, customer behavior and data, artificial intelligence, and the impact technology is making not only in our fitness industry, but in the health and wellness of our society. You know, one of the amazing things about working in this industry is positively impacting people's lives. So on this show, I'm both honored and excited to be able to showcase these world-class leaders that are going to help us do just that. If you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Josh Trent and I am your host. I've been in the health and wellness industry since 2004, when I had a major weight loss of over 80 pounds and health transformation that led me to becoming an inspired trainer. And in my career, I've coached over 10,000 sessions, helping hundreds of people lose weight. My passion in technology stems really from a film I saw in 2013 called Personal Gold. This was produced by Olympians Sky Christopherson and Tamara Jenkins, a film about quantified self and digital health technologies that inspired the USA women's cycling team to win a silver medal in the 2012 Olympic Games. Now, this led me down a path of becoming a digital health coach and expanding my wellness coaching business through the power of wearable and wellness technology. There are some exciting things coming down the road for all of us, my friends, as technology is literally shaping the way we work with clients and creating incredible health club experiences for the members of the future. So get ready for an exciting lineup ahead and buckle up, because this is going to be a fun ride as together we explore this intersection of fitness plus technology. For episode 1, we are learning from fitness industry leader and sought-after speaker, Bryan O'Rourke. Bryan's bio reads like an incredible story. Bryan is an accomplished CEO. He's a strategic advisor, an entrepreneur, investor, multiple published author, and professional speaker. His expertise in technology, strategy, development, marketing, management, and finance has led to a track record of incredible results in the fitness and wellness sectors, in food and beverage, international trade, and franchising. His articles have been published in a variety of established periodicals like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, among other leading newspapers. Bryan is a wealth of information, and I am beyond excited to share this part 1 of a special 2-part series to kick off the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast with Bryan O'Rourke discussing a new era of exponential technology, part 1. Let's jump into this fun and exciting conversation with the president of the Fitness Industry Technology Council, Bryan O'Rourke. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Josh. How you doing?
So fantastic, man. Excited to kick off this incredible series with you. Bryan, before we talk more about your background and this impact of tech on 1 billion health and fitness club members by 2025, share with us your vision for this podcast, kind of how it came to be and how with this show we're serving the fitness industry in this new era of tech.
Thanks, Josh. And by the way, a big part of how it came to be was because of you, Josh, and your efforts with the Fitness Industry Technology Council, and of course, our collaboration over the last several years. So I thank you for putting your energy into this. But for the industry overall, we're in such an interesting place and time with what technology, consumer trends, globalism, and economics are doing and creating this huge opportunity in our industry space. And I think a lot of people that we talk to, that I know, that you know, and others, they want to figure out what to do, what's going on, how's this change going to impact them. And I felt that in keeping with FTSE's mission of assisting more people to adopt these new ways of doing things, that this podcast would be a great resource for them. So it's what the Fitness Industry Technology Council is all about.
So I have some deeper questions for you coming up about your path and kind of how you got to where you are. But tell us briefly, maybe in a few sentences, who is Bryan O'Rourke? What do you do? Why do you do it?
Well, I really enjoy helping others. I've always been involved in technology and disruption in a number of industries, starting back in the 80s when the advent of the personal computer hit the marketplace. And I went to work for an entrepreneur by the name of Al Copeland in New Orleans, and went through a period of using technology in the food business, in franchising, and then in many other industries, all the way through franchising when I was one of the early adopters of intranets. I've always been an early adopter of technologies. Even in 2007, when Twitter came out, I was on it. And then in the fitness industry, when I started in the late 90s and working with that, I just was always very attracted to innovation, disruption in industry spaces using technology. So my whole ethos is really helping other people navigate through change and helping them see the path forward, because we are in an era of such tremendous opportunity where ideas with great execution can really make a huge impact. And of course, as you well know, Josh, with your Wellness Force podcast, it can make such a huge difference in the lives of so many people, and in a big difference to the planet overall and all of humanity. So what a great industry space to work in. And to the extent that we can see this promise of technology and these other kind of mega trends come together to make lives healthier and happier, wow. I wouldn't want to do anything else other than that.
Absolutely. Well, you earned your bachelor's degree in finance in the 80s and MBA in the 2000s. Earlier in your career, you worked for some of the top restaurant and food and beverage companies in America: Rally's Hamburgers, Smoothie King, Church's, Popeyes. But in 1999, Bryan, you shifted to the fitness industry, advising Franco's athletic clubs. Tell us why you made that shift into fitness, which led you to be a multiple published author, one of the top advisors to the largest brands in the industry. How did your passion for the fitness industry grow since that change?
Well, I'm very fortunate. Ron and Sandy Franco engaged my wife, Maureen, who's also my business partner, as their contract chief financial officer. And so this was in the late 90s. And as a result, I started talking with Maureen a lot around business. We've worked in a lot of industries and companies together, and was very interested in the business model that she was handling. Franco's is a very successful multi-purpose club here in the New Orleans area. They were opening a second location, and so I assisted them in capital formation and various aspects of the business planning, and then started to just become very intrigued by the industry space for many reasons. Actually did some of my graduate work and research on the industry space, and just found it very, very fascinating as an industry and what its potential was. So for almost 20 years now, I've been working in various capacities around the industry space, and I think, of course, I've always enjoyed working out. I always was a member of a club for a long time. I loved to cycle, and competitively I ran and did different things. But but I just found the industry space fascinating. And, there are a lot of really wonderful people that are in the industry space. So it's a pretty enjoyable place to work because of that, and so much more, as I mentioned before.
And you are leaving for China Fit in a couple of days. You just got back from London presenting about technology. So this is a space where I think people are really looking to you for leadership in this. One of the things that you've talked so much about is this landscape, this new landscape for fitness. 1 billion, with a B, gym and health club members globally by 2025. You were quoted as saying, in the midst of disruption in a world where having better questions will lead to better answers and a brighter future for us all. Let's talk about this new landscape for fitness, Bryan.
Yes, it's an interesting kind of play. I mean, behind it all, obviously, is the incredible impact of chronic disease globally on the world, on humanity and the world, and what that represents. And we all know that primary prevention lifestyle behaviors account for a large percentage of that chronic illness. And so from an economic perspective, from a global perspective, we've got to dramatically shift the amount of resources that are being spent on sick care into other pursuits. And the way to do that, of course, is through lifestyle. And, behind that fundamental economic reality that the world faces together are these megatrends that are looming and actually impacting us today. We're seeing changing consumers. People are radically changing. We can't think of the world in just a few subsets anymore. The incredible amount of diversity in people. We see brands like breweries making beers for yogis. We see Instagram accounts of ladies in their early 80s doing strength training. The generations are becoming much younger. The average selfie on Instagram is a woman in her mid-40s. So there are a lot of assumptions about people that are just shifting. Some of that is because of technology and also values. Today, for example, Josh, as many or more men in the United States are willing to make career changes for the benefit of the family than women are. So there's so many different roles of people. So all this dizzying diversity. We see bifurcation in the market with increasing numbers of affluent that are shifting how they're spending money. Urbanization is a bigger and bigger trend. Power shifted because of technology as well, with the consumer having more and more choices. And then you see technology, which is democratizing many, many industries. That's feeding this trend. And then globalism. All these things coming together and converging to create, massive disruption. And that disruption, in my view, is a huge opportunity because we need to grow the market. And because of digital, our ability to grow the market is really tremendous because we're going to be able to impact and bring so many more people in to practical ways of living healthier lives through fitness as a result of what technology is going to do. So all these things combined are just creating a situation where people are going to increasingly embrace health and fitness as a main part of their lifestyle. And in fact, it's a reflection of who they are, almost as a status. Exine, the European investment banking firm, analyzed the 5 fastest growth areas and industries, and wellness and fitness was one of the 5. Organic foods is another. There's several others. But these are fundamental shifts globally that are going to really drive a huge increase in the user base for these services and products.
I think when we look at why the importance of this kind of sick care system that you've mentioned in different presentations, the quality of lives and the quality of life is a sustainability issue for us and the planet. Kevin Kelly was quoted. I know you're a huge fan of Kevin. He's been, mentioned a lot of times in your work, and he's quoted as the rate of AI technology is improving. A kid born today will rarely need to see a doctor to get a diagnosis by the time they are an adult. Why is this important, and how is AI going to shift this sick care system?
That's a great thing. Well, a great question. Kelly talks about in his book, The Inevitable, which is the 12 inevitable forces that are going to reshape our future. He speaks about this, and what he calls it is the holos. People have also talked about it as being the 4th industrial revolution, where what we're seeing is this shift that started with the Industrial Revolution at the end of the 18th century and has moved in through the Information Revolution into this new kind of cyber-physical system, which is really a combination of the cloud, which is really ubiquitous access to computing power and storage, the proliferation of devices, so apps, et cetera, different modalities of user interface, and machine learning. And all these things are combining to create new possibilities, these tremendous new possibilities, which one you just used as an example. And we're seeing these things today. It seems simple, but in the restaurant industry, for example, going to a restaurant was a way to have a dining experience. Well, now you can use an app called Grubhub to have the dining experience brought to you. You could go to a bank for financial services, but you also have Wealthfront and other apps that do better work than humans on portfolio management at a fraction of the cost. So, these kind of AI, holos kind of cyber-physical systems, they're a platform where now there are all these possibilities that have emerged in the way of doing things like diagnosing someone. With Watson right now, When it comes to radiology, Watson can diagnose x-rays better than the vast majority of experts in the world just through applying those technologies. So we're just at the beginning, but I think that that technology, those technologies, and so much more are really going to revolutionize our fitness space in less than the next decade. And what is most fascinating is that what those products and services and experiences ultimately are for our industry space haven't even been invented yet. Mm-hmm. You know, there's some group of young people out there in the world that when these technologies become more and more revealed and relevant and available, and as Kevin talks about, we will unleash their genius. And these things will have profound impacts on our ability to assist people in having a much higher quality of life through, lifestyle design, through behavior modifications, through regular exercise and other outcomes that'll be a part of that ecosystem. So it's a very exciting time.
Your presentation, Poised for Growth, at the fitness conference in London this year, you talked about this third wave, the big three of the fourth industrial revolution, food system being one, education, and healthcare. These are all going to be reinvented in the coming decades. Bryan, just for people that might not have heard about this fourth industrial revolution, unpack that and then each one of these pieces.
Yeah, so it's a very big question. The fourth industrial revolution was really around the World Economic Forum. And, all of these possibilities of doing things in new ways, especially centered around sustainability, is really going to be very important because we have to think of these things and these issues and opportunities from a sustainability perspective because the world is becoming more and more interconnected. Technology is both causing a lot of the present problems we have today, and we're going to invent new technologies that solve those problems, and they'll create future problems in the future. But this is all part of an ongoing exponential evolution which technology is the primary driver behind. Back in the 19th century, of course, with the advent of machines and how those helped us become much more productive when it comes to agriculture and ultimately manufacturing, through the period of information systems, where the ability to have data readily available, and utilized in a ubiquitous manner, now to sensors, technologies, AI, the cloud, all these new apps, smartphone devices, connecting us through all these things are creating this fourth industrial revolution that will completely revolutionize the way that we do things and attack these huge problems like education, like healthcare, like the food system. So it is a very, very exciting time.
And you talk about dizzying diversity a lot, how the consumers are changing. And by the way, I just want to talk a little bit about what you just said. I think it's beautiful because so much of what we're going to do with this Fitness Plus Technology podcast is bring on people who are experts in their field that are talking about what they're seeing on the front lines. What's actually moving the needle, not just in our fitness industry, but globally. Now, when we look at this fourth stage, the cyber-physical systems, the way in which the consumer is changing and how these systems are going to meet that, who is this new consumer? I mean, why is there bifurcation? Why is that so important? And just tell us a little bit about this new consumer. What do they look like? What do they do?
Well, they're very diverse. I mean, there's many, many, many different types of consumers, which is really kind of analogous to the so many increasing numbers of choices and alternatives. We can't think of consumers in a kind of a homogeneous fashion anymore. The lines are being blurred. And as I used as an example before, thinking that people in their 70s or 80s are sitting in rocking chairs when you're seeing them actually, participate in CrossFit, or that, women in their mid 40s are the number one selfie takers on Instagram. I mean, 20 years ago, that would have been unthinkable. And what you're seeing is, a lot of behaviors attributed to different cohorts, age groups, sexes, et cetera. Those things just don't apply anymore. And a great example is what's going to happen with Snapchat. Snapchat is an emergent platform. For a lot of people 6 years ago in business, even in this industry space, executives, if you had said, do you have a Facebook profile, they would have thought that would be ridiculous to have a Facebook profile. Well, now they all have Facebook profiles. And the same is going to happen with Snapchat. Snapchat is focused on primarily an 18 to 25-year-old cohort right now, but that cohort's going to get age in the next 36 months. So what we see is a lot of behavior that we attribute to Gen Z, millennials, et cetera. That is matriculating up into older people. The largest growing users of Facebook are in their 60s. So the way we think about young being technologically adept doesn't really apply anymore. So there are all these dizzying combinations of types of people, and thus business models have to morph. To the extent that we have a convergence of these trends, it's creating an explosion of demand in our fitness industry. We're also going to have a divergence of business model offerings that cover a gambit of different business models to address these needs, because we're going to have such a wide variety of users that want to affiliate themselves with very specific fulfillment of their needs, and they're going to be so different. That's why I think technology is so meaningful, because you can use it as a tool to meet all these different kinds of needs in a personalized ways that matter to a variety of different people, versus thinking about maybe 1, 2, or 3 main groups. I am not a millennial per se, but if I go on the periodicals site, you can test to see if you're a millennial. And I score very high as a millennial, even though I'm not a millennial. So I think we see a lot of behaviors being kind of redistributed through the populations, reflecting this increasing amount of diversity.
You talked about the bottom line, and you were quoted, "A decade from now, many will be envious about not having been involved in what will become a hugely impactful industry. It would be like seeing the first plane take off at Kitty Hawk. This is where we are now." What was your thought process behind writing that? Where exactly are we? Are we at the beginning of the beginning? Are we at the mid stage? Where are we with this technological revolution?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think when you look at fitness in general, obviously physical culture goes back many centuries to the Greeks, et cetera. So I don't want to sound a little cavalier in saying that. However, when you see the percentage of people today that are conducting themselves in a manner from an exercise perspective, from a healthy eating perspective, et cetera, really focus on primary prevention as a lifestyle, that percentage of the overall population is fairly small. So when I'm talking about the beginning, and I believe we are at the beginning, I'm doing it from that perspective. I think that seeing that marketplace become 70% to 80% of the global population that is being served ultimately by a combination of business models, some purely technologically oriented, others not, in just a combination of ways. We are at the very beginning. We are truly at the very beginning. And as I mentioned before, the exciting thing is the greatest products and services in our industry space in the next decade to two haven't even been created yet. And so when you think of it from that perspective, that's what I mean. Truly, the ability to influence and impact people around their lifestyle is going to be unfathomable how many different ways that we'll be able to do that, and we'll successfully do that to grow the market.
Whether I am a trainer or a club operator, an owner, this perspective shift that you lectured on in London, you talked about repositioning, renewing, and refreshing, keyword refreshing, service offerings in new ways. Who is this consumer when we look at not just being a fitness consumer, but someone who's interested in the bigger aspects of living healthy, lifestyle, mindset, nutrition, holistic?
Yep.
What does that person look like, and what do you think about this perspective shift that everyone gets to really take hold of?
Right. It's a great question. I think there's always been a subset of people that wants to address lifestyle in a broader way. And when we talk about the key trends, and I see those trends as personalization first, then engagement, and then finally service redefinitions or service definitions, think of it this way. So Uber didn't invent the taxi cab ride. The ability to hire a taxi to take you somewhere has been around for a while, many, many years. So all Uber did was apply convenience through technology and a different business model to execute that in a way that delivered a superior experience in many people's minds around convenience. So when we think about, not just fitness, lifestyle, nutrition, holistic health, medicine, longevity, because, we now have the ability through this cyber physical system to deliver product on demand to people in a very integrated way. there's going to be possibilities now that were very hard to execute before. So if you think about nutrition, products and platforms and apps like Blue Apron and others create a world where customized meals can be delivered at scale, wherein before doing that was a lot harder. Now, because of the infrastructure, because of the way things work with solutions like Amazon's platforms and others, we can really have a situation where we're delivering an omnipresent experience that can incorporate a number of different aspects of healthy living, including diet, exercise, on-demand coaching, 24/7 in an omnipresent way. Mindset, as you know, and I think we've discussed this before privately, Josh, we see meditation as a $1 trillion industry in the next 5 years because technology has really kind of overloaded the reptilian mind, let's say. A mindful adoption of meditation is going to be very beneficial for people. And the technology around making that a reality is becoming more and more available for folks to try it. So I could go on and on the different possibilities, let alone advances in medicine who are providing DNA analysis for a few $100, so where you can really get into some customization around your nutrition and what you really should be doing in ways that were impossible to even fathom a decade ago. I think this and so many other components are going to make possible through various business models the ability to really deliver a superb form of support, coaching, influence, and service delivery that make it easier and easier for people to do the right things for their health.
And I think what you're touching on is this massive advancement, not only in technology, but honestly, Bryan, how this is going to impact our human condition.
Yes.
A lot of the guests that we're going to have on the future episodes for the podcast are going to talk about sensors, the Internet of Things, brain and behavior change. But this is just the beginning. I mean, these specific ways in which technology is going to affect the fitness industry in a positive way. What do you see as some of the key drivers, like maybe the top 3 drivers of how technology is actually going to shift people's presence, number one, and then how they work with their clients? Is it going to be the mobile experience? Is it going to be the wearables piece? Or is it going to be the user experience of how clubs talk to their members in a very honest and integrous way?
Yeah, it's going to be a combination of things. As I mentioned before, I think that to the extent there's a convergence that's driving disruption, which we've got to seize the upside of, and I think we will. There's also a divergence of business models because of dizzying diversity, because people are having more and more choices, because really all this technology is about is creating greater and greater possibilities to meet people's needs. So I think that, you're going to see a plethora of different delivery models, some of them pure digital, some of them combining digital and physical in different ways. Some of them incorporating integrated healthcare into their models, others not, others being involved with on-site employment situations where you can deliver product and services around health and fitness in company settings, an incredible array of various ways of doing it. So for a trainer, for example, what training is today and what it's going to become is going to be, in my opinion, very different. In certain instances, it might not be different at all. I think, as I point out to people, even though digital entertainment has become quite divergent in its delivery models and business models, there's still about 350 drive-in movie theaters out there around the country. So in the U.S. So, I think there are just going to be a tremendous number of options. And trainers directly, many of them I'm sure will still deliver that one-on-one in-person experience, but there are going to be others that are going to do that in tandem with digital coaching and in mass scale, where you might be able to have as many as 100 or more clients that you're utilizing a platform to collect data on and to automate, behavior modifications through a series of technology tools. So I think, and that's just one example of many different things that I think we'll see emerge in the marketplace, some of which are emerging today. And I think that will just increase access to more and more people in the marketplace. Now, for some business models and professionals, it's going to be disruptive in a painful way because, the ability to adapt to change or figure out what you need to absolutely focus on and what you need to absolutely let go of, people are going to have to figure that out. But I think for the most part, the creation of all these new possibilities that technology is going to give us is going to make creative people, out there be able to touch a heck of a lot more people and impact their health in many more positive ways than they were able to do before.
Be sure to check out the following episode of this 2-part series with Bryan O'Rourke as we explore this exponential growth in technology. We have 1 billion gym and health club members coming online by 2025. Bryan was quoted as saying, in the midst of disruption, in a world where having better questions will lead to better answers and a brighter future for us all. Really putting our mindset around how 1 billion gym and health club members will need service. Next is the importance of the change in this new landscape in fitness and wellness, because the sick care system we have now is unsustainable. This is a sustainability issue for us and our planet. Bryan talks so much about Kevin Kelly, which is linked in his presentation, Poised for Growth, from the fitness conference in London this year. We'll link some of that information today in the show notes page. And lastly, the consumers we serve are changing. This dizzying diversity, bifurcation with new demographics and income, new roles, new lifestyles, understanding this consumer, meeting their needs through technology that's advancing like we've never seen. Being omnipresent for the gym member experience inside and outside of the club is now more pivotal than ever before. In our second series with Bryan, we're going to dive deeper into some of these concepts about the fourth industrial revolution and how it's impacting the industry. Thank you for spending some time with me on the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. I want to thank our sponsors, Videri Ventures and the Fitness Industry Technology Council. You can learn more about becoming a valued partner with FitC, as well as access all the links and resources from today's show by heading over to fittechcouncil.org/podcast. If you're listening on your phone, tap the show artwork and the live link will appear in purple. Support this podcast by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you've gotten value and been able to take inspired action from the guests and information on this show, head on over to fittechcouncil.org/review, and you can leave your voice to be heard live on the iTunes airwaves. Or just simply tap that show artwork and the review link will be in purple for you to leave right from your phone. Next week, we have another phenomenal show with an expert guest to inspire you at the crossroads of fitness and technology. So until I see you again next week, be well, have an amazing day, and go out there to connect online and offline with the people you care about most.